And today I will be speaking about how to do A/B testing with Azure website traffic routing. So this talk will mostly cover these topics. What is A/B testing actually? Why do you need this? How to set up your A/B testing cloud? And we will cover different scenarios and talk about monitoring of the stuff. But before we proceed, I would like to ask you first question. Who knows what Booking.com is? 1, 2, 3? OK. Who at least once used it to book a hotel? Great. It's really nice that you're most familiar with it. So Booking.com was established in 1996 in Amsterdam, and it's currently the world's #1 accommodation website. It has 820,000 properties in 220 countries, and over 950,000 room nights are reserved every day. So almost 1 million room nights is reserved every day at the Booking.com. But it wasn't so back in the day in 1996. So let me show the first version of the Booking.com website, which was like this. Pretty simple website, which was called bookings.nl. It was pure Dutch website with, yeah, of course it was translated to English to cover international guests, but, well, only Dutch hotels were there. We're moving slightly in time, and November 2002, small redesign there happened. June 2005, we now see that a bit familiar search box there, like destinations on the right, bookings without NL, so on and so forth. September 2008, it's Booking.com now. It's rebranded, but the logo is suitcase and the globe still. But the design is more or less like kind of modern website now. Moving forward, November 2011, again redesign, again old logo, Booking.com as a name. June 2013, new logo, only Booking.com. Website looks like almost today's version, so pretty much what it is now. And today is like this. I would say almost like this because I think you will understand later why I say almost like this. So pretty much changes happened since 1996. If we compare this version to what was before, initially, it's like dramatical change. But as you might see, those changes didn't happen in one go. We think that no big change can be possible to do immediately. And iteration of small steps brings us to the goal of the company. And it's not a revolution, but evolutionary process. So when you're going to introduce new feature to your website, let's ask yourself those questions. Are you sure that your new design will be good? Or are you sure that your new feature will not break websites? And are you sure that visitors, your current visitors, for those who you actually work, will love your new functionality? And the most important question is, are you sure that you are sure? To prove that sometimes we're not sure at all, I would like to play a little game with you. It's first day of the conference, early in the morning, so I think you have full of energy. So this game let's spend this energy on the game. So I will show you some real-life experiments, and variant A, variant B, and I would like you to vote which variant you think was performing better in each case. And before we proceed, can you please stand up? It won't take long. Full energy, coffee, yeah, that's good. Right, so first experiment. Which of the projects on Kickstarter got more money? First one, variant A, it's a capacitive touch stylus, which allows you to write things on touch screens with extreme precision. And on the right, there is a smartphone controlled paper airplane. So A and B, voting. Who thinks which one? Huh? B is the right hand. Yeah, B is the right hand. This hand. A is the, OK. So yeah, winner is version B, obviously. Well, not obviously, but people love gaming, right? People love these silly things which can be smartphone controlled. So if you raise your left hand, please take a seat. Others can see. No one, really? Great. Huh? Yes. If your left hand was up, please sit down. OK, good. Moving forward, one more experiment. these two forms to submit your email to subscribe for some updates. The difference between them is that on the right form, you see that there is a text telling join 14,000 others and get free updates. Which variant do you think got more subscriptions, A or B? And the winner is version A. So the truth is sometimes it's better to have no proof than the low proof, and 13,000 is not enough proof for the visitor. So if you raise your right hand, please sit down. All right, you see already half of the audience is sitting now. Moving forward, again, two subscription forms. On the right-hand side, you see the nice lady smiling and telling, hey, subscribe, please, to request our demo. On the left-hand side, there is no lady, just the form. Which variant do you think was better? Left hand for the A, right hand for the B. Okay, don't be shy. Be brave. All right. Version A is winner. So, like most people, yeah, they say that. Like most people, if you guess that version B won, you are wrong. Because, yeah, 24% increase in the version without the lady. So, last one. It's Office, Microsoft Office page. And these two pages different that we need to count how many users clicked to buy the Office, new Office product. On the left-hand side, there is only one big banner. On the right-hand side, there is a green button and also a box with Office product. So which variant do you think was better? Variant A. So yeah, variant B was 64% worse. Well, my next slide is a bit confusing. If you keep standing, congratulations. Well, no one is standing here. It's really good because I could prove the theory. But there were two people who were standing on the previous stage before the Office. So I would consider that you won. And since I came from Netherlands, I have some Dutch waffles. And I have 2 packs of them. So please come by to my desk here and grab them. Congrats. But the purpose of this game was to show to you that our feelings doesn't match with real life situation in the world. So how would you test your ideas if we know that our own feelings are not good? We can go and use our intuition, but we just prove that it doesn't work. We can use expert opinion, but expert opinion is also intuition of the expert. We can go and meditate. We can use crystal balls. I don't believe in this kind of stuff. We can go to historical data. But historical data has negative things that it only reflects on history. It doesn't count modern trends. So we don't know what happens today, what happens tomorrow. Because of the data is just for history. So the answer for this, how do we test ideas? It's A/B testing. Because A/B testing, it's let real visitors to decide which variant they like more. And your decisions are based on real-life data. So what is actually A/B testing? It's running several versions. Usually they are called A and B. A is unmodified something, and B is something with modifications. And you run those 2 versions against your audience simultaneously. You collect the data about user behaviors, about some conversion, clicks, whatever metrics you are interested in. And you compare outcome, and you make your decision on these data. So why do you need A/B testing as a website owner or developers? As I said, if you change something, you would really like to know whether users gonna love it or not. Because if you just implement the change and without comparing it to the previous one, you probably will lose some audience or gain, and you will not know it. If you're going to roll out new code, you have to be sure that this new code doesn't break anything, doesn't generate issues, errors, warnings, whatever. So it's also a good thing to A/B test. And if you want to test a concept or a beta, which you're not sure if it will go live or not, also we can run an A/B test on a smaller audience and see how it performs. So this is the motto of Booking.com: one doesn't release without A/B testing. in Booking.com, we believe that if the feature can be wrapped up in the beta, in the A/B testing, it should be wrapped up in A/B testing. Of course, it doesn't count for bug fixes or other important and urgent stuff to do, but if this is a regular development thing, we cover this with A/B test every time. So how basically it works? As I said, you have to have A and B, so you have to have two buckets based on variant. You deploy different versions of your website to bucket 1 and bucket 2. Usually, bucket 1 is your unmodified website, bucket 2 is something with changes. Then you split traffic evenly to 50-50 between your users and route half of them to unmodified website, half of them to modified version. You need to keep those users persistent so that every returning user goes to the same variant where he or she was before, so that his experience would consistent across the sessions, across the visiting of your website. So this basically sounds a bit complex if you want to implement this on your own, and it's really complex if you think of how would you set up your web server, how would you keep on persistency, and so on and so forth. But hopefully, we're slightly approaching the topic of the speech. Is Azure traffic routing allows you to build everything in just, well, minutes. I like this picture really much. It says, every time you tip, God save the kitten. Tip here, of course, reflects on the tips in the restaurant, but also tip was a previous name of traffic routing service, which is called testing in production. So every time you test in production, God save the kitten. Remember this. So Azure traffic routing allows you to create and run A/B tests for your websites really easily in like seconds, and I will show you that. All routing logic is included, so you don't have to worry about how your returning visitors be routed again. And you can have as many variants as you wish. If you want to 2, 3, 100, you can do this. So I would like to demonstrate this, but before we continue, if you have your mobile device with internet, please go to this link, one of those, they're the same, just to test the idea. You will see something like this, website with a coffee shop, not the Dutch coffee shop, but regular cafeteria. So imagine you're a real customer and you would like to buy chocolates, cakes, whatever for you. And I would ask you to decide on yourself whether you would like to buy in that shop or you don't want to buy in that shop. I would say that some of you might get different versions of the website, and that's A/B testing running at the moment, so that's fine. Decide on the order, and we will proceed to the demo. So first of all, I'm sorry, I'll have to sit down, but you will probably not see me, but I will try to move it. Oh, my fault. Yeah. So first of all, to be able to run A/B tests on Azure, we obviously should have an Azure deployed website. So let's create a new one. If we are not familiar, who familiar with Azure? Who at least, okay. Oh, many of you. Good stuff. So I'll do it really quick then. I will go to Marketplace and create the bakery, the same website as I showed you in the demo at the moment. It's ASP.NET running website provided by Microsoft. It's a simple template you can use for just testing your stuff. Let's call it somehow Topconf demo. Hope it's free. Yep. So while the website is creating, it should be really fast, I hope, in a minute. First of all, you have to, if you want to use traffic routing, you have to create a website in the standard pricing tier, because it is only starting from standard pricing you are allowed to use deployment slots. And basically, traffic routing works on top of deployment slots, which were introduced far away from now, and really were really helpful to deploy and test your production code in the cloud environment. But now it is evolving with traffic routing service, which I will show you how to use in a second. Azure website. So as soon as the website is created, yeah, deployment succeeded. So if we navigate to the website right now, we will see the same coffee shop website. Yeah. So it's just a standard template you can use. Now, what we need to do, we need to create another deployment slot where we are going to deploy our new version of the website we are going to test. And it's easy to do. If we go to the settings of the website and choose the deployment slots over there, then specify add slot and call it var1, which stands for variant 1 with variant. Usually in A/B testing there is a base and variant in the terminology. So variant is something which has modifications in there. It didn't work? No, it did. Yes. All right. So if we navigate now to Topconf demo dash variant 1, we will see that the website is empty. It's just brand new created website where you can deploy your files. So basically, let's do some changes. I already have my website prepared for this with some changes there. If I go to my prepared demo, you will see that the bakery site now looks a little bit different. There is 90% discount for forever for everyone attending this conference. So obviously, these changes should be good for the customers, but we don't know because our assumptions might be wrong, and we would like to test it, right? So let's go back to Azure, and now let's basically set up A/B testing. So we have base slot, we have slot with variant. How do we create the balance between A and B? And as I said, it's really fast and simple. We go in the settings to the traffic routing tab, and we choose a deployment slot here. And we tell that 50% of our traffic should be routed to this new deployment slot. So if I press save now, the routing is set up. So it's basically running now in the mode that 50% of the traffic will be routed to the base variant of the website, and 50% of the traffic will be routed to the variant of the website. To demonstrate this, let's try to test our luck. So if I navigate to Azure tip, no, sorry, not the Azure tip, but the Topconf demo website. And if I refresh the page, yeah, I'm still in the variant of the website. But if I go there as an anonymous user from incognito tab, in one of the visits, I will probably hit, no? Come on. Yes, it's only cookie-based, that's true. All right, so let's do some hacks here then. Let's do and manually delete the cookie. So there's a tip mix cookie, which tells the web server which variant you should be routed to, and based on this value, you'll get the base or variant. So if I delete the cookies from the website and try to refresh one more time, we hit the variant. It doesn't contain new code now, well, but for the demonstration purposes, we now see that we hit variant before we hit the base before. So if I delete the cookie one more time, there is 50% chance that I will be routed to base again, or will stay in variant. So yeah, I'm in base, and if I delete the cookie, I'm still in base. So the routing happens randomly, so that the website, the service tries to maintain the whole traffic and split it 50-50 in an evenly distributed way. So let's get back to the presentation now. So As I said, uh, traffic routing allows you to set up A/B tests really in minutes. And it works for every website type which is supported in Azure at the moment. So it's not only ASP.NET, it's Python, Node.js, whatever, because it's not related to the code deployed there, but it's related to the infrastructure behind that. So that's Azure takes responsibility on how to route your visitors, how to deal with cookies, and so on and so forth. But as I said, traffic routing, the name of the service, traffic routing, is much bigger than just about A/B testing. So there are also different scenarios you can use there. It's better feature testing or ramp-up testing and maybe A/B test on a small portion of your visitors. Let's cover all of them. For the beta feature, you probably know that some of the large websites like Facebook try to release their new features for the beta users, which are more loyal probably, or just random visitors, we don't know. And routing small portion of your users to the website will kind of keep you on the safe side, that your website will not fail for everyone, but maybe for a small portion. Moving forward, if you are satisfied with how beta works, you can go and try to increase a little bit the traffic to see how it performs under the bigger load. So we can increase it first until 7%, let's say then until 15%, again until 30%. And during this time of ramp-up monitoring, you are constantly looking at your graphs, at your monitors, at your logs, to actually justify that you are not failing anywhere and that increase in load doesn't affect your performance and other metrics. And if you are satisfied with that, you will reach the point when you increase your traffic to the 50%. And that's where A/B tests again come into play. And I really encourage you to test your, even if you go to the ramp-up scenario, and when you reach 50% of the users, let it be for A/B testing to validate again that your new feature is really beneficial for the end user and not for you. If satisfied with this, you just can swap slots in the Azure interface, and your beta slot will become a production slot. And that's easily done in 2 clicks. Some advanced A/B tests. If you want to test not just 50-50 distribution, but maybe 10 versus 10% of your users, or if you want to have multiple tests, it's also easily done. And if you go to the Azure again, as I said, new deployment slot is the same website, is the same infrastructure behind that. So you can consider this as another website, another virtual machine. So it includes all the features its regular website has. So if we go now to the deployment slot, yep. If we go to the deployment slot and select our variant 1 deployment slot, there are also settings for this website. And inside here, we can go to traffic routing again, and we can select our production slot to route back 50% of our traffic there. So, which means that you first had 2 different buckets with production and variant, and then you exclude your base from this experimentation and focus on only variant and split it again to have 50% in variant and 50% back in production. So basically, you're running your experiments under a smaller portion of your visitors, just 50% of the initial one, where you split again and have 20% in variant and 20% back in production, back in base, which means that you are experimenting on a smaller portion of your visitors. You can do the same for not only 50-50 distributions, but you can only cut the initial bucket on 10%, say, and divide it again half by 5 and 5. Or you can have different multiple experiments running like 10, 10, 10, 10, and then everyone is divided by half. So it's basically like that. And this picture illustrates this from the Inception movie. So you go deeper, you A/B test, and you run A/B tests again, A/B tests, which sounds a little bit weird, but well, it how it works basically. Last thing I would like to cover, and it's really important thing, because it might be even more important than just testing itself. It's monitoring. It's how you actually understand that your test is successful or not. And unfortunately, there is no silver bullet, because every website is unique. Every company has its own metrics, and I could hardly imagine that there will be one time there will be a startup which tell you, hey, we can test all of your metrics for our customer in one click. Now I think it's kind of impossible to do without customization. So, because everybody's metrics are unique. If you are e-commerce website like Booking.com or Amazon or others, your metrics are items sold, conversion, loyalty, whatever. If you are from gaming industry, you are probably interested in in-app purchases, engagement, number of sessions. If it's social networks, though, then you might be interested in your visitors, sharing, repost number, so on and so forth. So it's really different. So for monitoring of your A/B tests, you can use whatever you prefer. You can use Azure App Insights, you can use Google Analytics, Yandex Metrica, or whatever you prefer. For this demo, I chose Yandex, as I'm most familiar with this system. So I hope we have enough data here to demonstrate how it works. I created 2 different counters in the Yandex and set up the goal to reach the order page. So if it was set up correctly, for my base, the conversion rate is 0. For my variant, the conversion rate is 40. You may see that users are almost evenly distributed. We have 4 users in base. We have 5 users in variant. But in variant, we see that 40%, like 2 of you, were basically ordered some cakes. And in base, I think you think that it's too expensive maybe for you, or you don't want to, or whatever. So that's how it works. This really dumb way of monitoring your stuff, but it demonstrates how you can improve on that, how you can apply your imagination and create your own metrics on top of that. So speaking of monitoring, and it's really good that we have here a small audience, because traffic is important for your A/B testing. Imagine you have 6 visitors, or like we had in the demo, we had 9 visitors. Do you think that if in the variant in base conversion rate is 33% and in variant conversion rate is 100%, do you think that variant is better than base? Yeah, there are concerns. And if it was 100 visitors, but if it was 1,000 or 10,000, will it change?
Well, it depends on the general amount of visitors in central hub.
That's true. That's true, but the bigger size you have, the more confidence you have on your statistics. Because actually all the decision making is based on statistics. That's the formula. I don't want you to memorize it. It's just a thing you can Google then. It's called G-test. And G-test is a statistical metric that can say you that for this portion of visitors and for this portion of goal conversion, you will have probability of which amount to be sure to say that base or variant is better or not. So basically, if the G-test says you that 90% confidence that this variant is better, you may be sure that it's really so. If it's below 90, you cannot say sure. So there is no such thing that, okay, it's 89, it's almost true. No. If it's above 90, that you can consider it to be likely to be true. If it's below 90, it's totally not true and it's neutral. So as I said, if we have small traffic, the G-test will show you like neutral results. If it's higher traffic, like we have at Booking, we have around, if we summarize all the websites we have, like, I mean, all mobile, desktop, and tablet websites, it's around 50 million users every day. So we have plenty of traffic to test on. That's why we are really successful experimenting. But for your maybe not that big websites, please run it for a longer period, or try to cover as much visitors as possible, because the more data you have, the more confident in your decisions you will be. So run it at least for 2 full weeks. Why 2? First of all, why do you need to run it for the full week at least? Because every day is unique and every day users behave different. Imagine someone on the Monday morning or imagine someone on the Friday evening. The pattern of the behavior is completely different, and you want to understand how users behave in the entire week. But also, weeks are also different. And 1 week today, this week might be different from the next week. So you want to cover how user behavior changes across the time. So the more time you have, the more traffic you will get, and the more stable this traffic will be. So the longer you run your experiment, the more truly results you will get out of the experimentations. And also consider some seasonality and special events, like Christmas, like World Cup. World Cup is a real-life example from the Booking.com. We spotted that during one of our experiments, the traffic increased significantly and the conversion rate increased significantly for the Brazil. And Brazil was the World Cup holder for that time. So we didn't think of it before we started the experiment, and we were really surprised with the outcome of that. But then okay, something is going on. Let's figure out what's going on. And we noticed, okay, there's World Cup in Brazil, and on that date specifically, we knew who will play in finals. So the people who were waiting until their team gets to the finals, they were waiting until this date to book the hotel. And then the semifinals ended, and everybody just ran and booked the hotel to go there and to see how their team will be playing. So consider this, because it might affect your data in a positive or negative way. And last but not least, important thing about decision making, that also consider that there might be false negative and false positive decisions. If you don't have enough data, or if your data is really not measured well, or your metrics are not collected well, you might have false positive decisions when you think that the effect is 0, but you think that the effect is not 0, but in fact it's neutral. Or false positive, that you didn't affect anything really in real life, but you think that you really made something out of that. So we're slightly approaching the end of the talk. And on the overview, I hope that we covered that A/B testing helps you make your right decisions. With A/B tests in the cloud, in the Azure, you can run it. It's pretty simple. I understand that it's not that powerful as we at Booking.com have, because we have internal tools which we built from scratch back in the day. But for someone who is new with A/B testing, this cool feature of traffic routing might really help to at least make the first step and see how their new deployment behave. And it's a really good thing for startups, for example, or smaller websites. There are also many scenarios you can cover. Don't focus on only A/B testing. Be brave. Release your beta features without maybe even testing it properly. Just release to the small portion of your users, validate it's not failing, and try to ramp up it a little bit until you get confidence that it's not failing. It will save your time on testing, because again, we at Booking.com, we don't have testers. Well, we do have testers, but for roughly 300 developers, we have only 10 testers, because we believe that users are our testers. We run it in an experiment, and we see that if this experiment is failing, for whatever reason, it might be business reason or it might be performance reason, we can stop it immediately and say that, okay, we failed at this experiment. That's not the problem. Let's reiterate it again. Let's improve the code and run it again. And it allows us to rapidly to rapidly develop new features. And that's why I said in the beginning that our website today looks almost as a screenshot, because every day we have around 1,000 running experiments at the same time. But experiments is not the only thing. Monitoring is the thing. If you monitor everything careful, then you will be confidently sure that your change is really affecting something. and it's a good thing. And in the end, the quote from the Office online team, which I showed during the game, A/B testing is a fundamental and critical web service. Consistent use of A/B testing could save the company millions of dollars, and I totally agree on that. If you A/B test your ideas, then you truly understand what's your impact in each change, and that may bring you really good outcome in the future. So, thank you for attending, and if you are interested in A/B testing in Booking.com, we are hiring, and this is the link you can see all our jobs, or you can contact me to discuss whatever we can do for you. So, questions? Yeah?
I noticed Azure, the booking, I didn't know about it, but I noticed the booking seems like a percentage, so you have to put them when you're low. I mean, this is easily, I mean, it is exploitable, I'll say. I mean, if you have especially a small startup, it's exploitable, let's say, by malicious people to route the traffic to only one of the services. And this is quite visible to me from the very top I didn't know anything before.
I can't answer for sure how it works internally in Azure. Probably it might be, but I don't know, maybe there is a safeguard, but maybe not. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. That the service is really, well, it's still young. It appeared in this spring, as far as I remember. So, yes, might be. But then you can just, if you see the spike, it's again about monitoring. If you see that your variant is spiking, is increasing in the traffic, you would probably understand that something is going wrong there. You can just shut down your experimentation and route everyone to base until you investigate what's going on. We have the same. Basically, we have the same at Booking. We cannot, because users are anonymous in the internet in most of the cases until they are logged in. So cookies are the only way probably to keep the persistent experience of the user. Well, it's session, but session is also based on cookies. Yeah, so that's how web works. We don't know about user anything about IP address and the web browser. So, other questions? Yeah.
What about the angry visitors who've been routed to the bucket which is in beta state and which is foggy and badly performing?
Yeah, that's life, I would say. That's why you're running A/B tests. You want to know that your new feature affects your users in a positive way. If it affects you in a negative way, you will see the outcome pretty soon. So next day, probably you will see that your conversion rate dropped, and that means that your new feature is really bad. But if it's not bad, if it's like neutral with maybe negative or positive shift, then it will be balanced. If you have enough traffic, it will be balanced in around like neutral zones. That conversion will be the same in both of the variants. Those users who didn't like this, well, we cannot accommodate everyone. We cannot be friends to everyone. Of course, there are some people who don't like your base website, and they go to your base website and they leave, but if they go to your variant website, they will stay. And it works the same the other way around. There might be people who love your website, but will not love your variant. And again, important point you reminded me, that your change should be as small as possible. Don't try to A/B test the whole redesign. Be as small as it's possible to be sure that only this change affected your conversion, and then next to another thing, another change. I think we're run out of time. Okay, so we will end up now, and I will be available somewhere in the conference here. You can reach me and ask any questions if you have. Thank you for attending.